When was the last time you did something that was very scary or just very challenging? Welcome back to another episode of Tick-Off Tuesday, where we talk about how to prevent wasting this one life that we got. So this is my bucket list with 100 things that I want to do before I die. And one of the things that I ticked off here was something scary, something that was very challenging, but I believe it's very important to do something hard now and then. But yeah, it's this one right here, to take an ice bath for 10 minutes. So when I wrote my bucket list, it was also the time when I started to take ice baths. And I just thought it would be an epic story if I would be in ice water for more than 10 minutes. So that's why I put it on my list. Back then, being in ice water for 2 minutes was already super difficult. So thinking about being in ice water 5 times longer was just crazy. But throughout my life, because I come from a parkour background, it was always something that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed challenging myself and kind of try to find my limit, because once you do something that you first thought is not possible, really boosts your, I want to say ego, but I mean, it can push your ego as well. But what I want to say is it pushes your confidence, because when there is something that you first believe is impossible, but then you still try to approach that, you still take action towards that goal, you will get to a point where you start to realize that it actually might be possible. And this is where it gets very interesting, because you start to reprogram your mind. Because first, when you don't think it's possible, you don't really work on that. You don't really take action towards that. But as soon as you have this thought that, maybe I could try this to improve my skill or to improve my mindset. And this is when progress does this. This is when the curve gets very steep, because you think more and more about this and how to make it happen. And this is really the point where you want to get to. That's why I truly believe it's very important to do something that is either very scary or just a crazy challenge for you, because it forces you to think differently and it will also boost your confidence. So for future challenges, it will be much easier to tackle them. And we all know that in life we face a lot of challenges, a lot of unexpected challenges that we have to deal with. And when you manage to develop a mindset that instead of just thinking, oh, that's impossible, I cannot deal with that, that you instead think about, okay, maybe it's impossible now, but I can work on that and improve my mindset to get to a point where I all of a sudden believe that it's possible. So with that said, I always try to do something very challenging at least once a year, and taking an ice bath for 10 minutes was definitely something very difficult that I ticked off in 2021. So with that in mind, that I want to stay in ice water for 10 minutes, I practiced this a little bit different. So every time I went for an ice bath, I kept in mind that I want to stay in for 10 minutes. I took some breaths. I did a little meditation. I just tried to stay very calm and very relaxed, because I knew that if you want to stay in for 10 minutes, you have to be very calm. So after 1 year, or I should rather say 1 season of ice bath, I was like, okay, this is gonna be the winter, I'm gonna do it. So the friend I did that with, this guy right here, Lolo, he wasn't sure if he also wants to do the 10 minutes because it's crazy. But then when I told him I wanna attempt the 10 minutes, he was like, okay, I'm gonna join you. I come with you, but I'm not sure yet if I wanna stay in for 10 minutes. So it was that cold that the water was actually frozen. And I thought, okay, that's actually great, because for the video it looks colder. Luckily the weather was actually nice, so there was even a little bit sun shining now and then. Even though it was still cold outside, it felt at least a bit warmer, because the worst scenario in which you can go ice bathing is when it's dark, windy and cold. That's like, it's so much harder to stay in the cold water for long. So the day was perfect, but the ice was quite thick. First I had to break the ice, and that was actually quite difficult and also required some energy, which I was a little bit worried, because the hours before I really tried to calm myself down. I really tried to stay in this Zen mode, and I know, okay, I need all the energy to stay in the water for 10 minutes. So that's why when I was there breaking the ice and doing all this effort, I kind of was a little bit worried that that requires too much energy. But yeah, then I got naked and we got into the ice water. Got in. It's like, calm down, just being relaxed. Try to ignore the time. One of the guys who was filming, he also set a timer, and I think after 5 minutes he said, okay, 5 minutes are gone, and then every minute he reminded us again. I think after 6 minutes or so it got very difficult for me, and there was even a point where I almost started to pass out. I kind of started to feel dizzy, and I was really like, okay, refocus, focus on my breath. And then I got the control back. I mean, I always tried to talk a little bit with Lolo, just some small conversations to kind of forget the time and that we are in ice water. But always I had to go back to like just closing my eyes and focus on my breath. And then after 8 minutes, I knew, okay, 2 more minutes, like we are already in for 8 minutes, like it's not the time to give up now. And Lolo, this other guy, he had the same mindset. He was like, yeah, now I stayed in for 8 minutes with you, so now let's do it 10 as well. And that really gave me that motivation boost that was needed in that moment as well. I was like, okay, we're gonna do this together. And then 9 minutes. It was very cold, it was very difficult, it was very hard. Every second my head told my body, get out of that water, that's so stupid, that's ridiculous. But no, I stayed in. And then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10 minutes in ice water. And Lolo and I, we totally freaked out, like, yeah, high-fived each other. And that was the moment that also reminded me why you should do hard things now and then. Because the feeling you get after you accomplish something that you first thought is impossible, this feeling is just undescribable. And that's the reason why I did that. Taking an ice bath for more than 10 minutes.
Bucket list goal number 40, complete!
There's one more thing that just came to my mind. So Alex Honnold, this free solo climbing guy, I heard it from him. He said that it's important to do something scary because it reminds your body to what scary actually means. Because so many people are scared of things that happen to us in everyday life, things that are actually not relevant. Like, for example, they are scared what other people would say about them, or they are scared if they missed an opportunity. And for some people it gets very bad. They get this anxiety and they even get panic attacks for things that shouldn't be relevant. And Alex Honnold says that if he's climbing something without the rope, like this is real danger. And it reminds you what real danger actually means. And all the other things that we tend to tell our mind is scary actually isn't. And I just think that's kind of a interesting view on danger or just scary things that we do or that we should do now and then. Now YouTube also thinks you like one of those 2 videos, so yeah, feel free to watch them or subscribe to this account, and then I'll see you next week. Bye bye.